we're in bad shape right now. As a matter of fact, we're in bad enough shape that if we don't turn things around, this country is going through the last days of its liberty and strength and world leadership. And everybody knows it. Yes. Okay? You can see those folks in different parts of the world now. They're sitting there. Some of them are enemies. Some of them once are friends. Some of them are good friends, wondering what's going to become of themselves. Because they're looking at America the way folks will look at somebody who's ingested a deadly poison. And the signs are just beginning to show, and they're wondering how long it's going to take before we kick up our heels and are gone. And you can calculate it very easily. You can calculate it based on the rising tide of our surrender to terrorism. You can calculate it based on the rising tide of the death that will overwhelm this generation and the generations to come. And people are wondering whether we're going to stand for it, whether we're just going to roll over and play dead. And we need to ask ourselves, how did we get here? And the reason I wanted y'all to identify yourself as Republicans is I'm going to say some things that will scorch your ears, but I think you need to hear. And you need to hear them before you go vote in another primary, before you let continue in this country what has in fact got us here. Yes. It's time that we remember that Barack Obama didn't waltz into office all by himself. He waltzed into office on the strength of year after year and election after election, when the American people returned the Republican Party to control of the White House and control of the Congress, and they ended up doing with that control exactly what the Washington politicians had done before, serving themselves, serving their own re-election, and doing darn little to serve this country's future. And it all culminated in that mess in 2008. When G.W. Bush tells us that he abandoned his free market principles, turned over control of our credit system and banking system to the government and the Fed. That's right. Virtually held Barack Obama's coat as he stepped this country through the door of socialism. That's right. Now, so let's remember why we're here, why we are in this mess. And I have to tell you, I don't think some people want to act as if the people of this country did this and did that. I even hear people talking as if we've been down on our hands and knees, begging the government to do this and that for us. You know that's a lie, don't you? Yeah. You know that we have gone down the road of all these entitlement programs and all this rising tide of government spending because it's the only way these incompetent politicians could find to convince us they were doing something for America. Well, I think it's about time we reminded them that the job of our representatives is not to do things for America, but to let Americans do things that will bring this country back to its greatness. One message we got to send to Washington. And we need to send the people there who will carry that message clearly and unequivocally and without apology and without equivocation and without retreat. Yes. And that message is that it's time that the folks in Washington stop telling us they want more power so they can do things for us. That's right. And start realizing that we're going to take back our power and then the things they need to do to us. But here's the problem. Why have we let this happen? Here's the other question I'm going to ask. Oh, you shouldn't do this in the political realm. I'm going to do it anyway. How many of you here would answer to the name Christian? Raise your hands. Stand up. Stand up. Look around. See yourselves. Okay? What's been going on in America? We have people, have a seat, who know who they are, who know what they believe, they know who they are, they know who got it, and they surely know that when this country was founded, it was founded on a simple premise. That justice is determined by the will of God. That what is right is determined by the will of God. That rights based on that right are determined by the will of God. And that therefore, we as a people, free as we may claim to be, cannot exercise our freedom in a way that contradicts the authority from which it comes. That's right. So you tell me, in a country based on that premise, why have we allowed ourselves to be intimidated into silence and equivocation on issues like defending the unalienable right of the unborn, on issues issues like preserving the God-ordained family. I was in a meeting the other day, a young lady stands up, and she starts talking about, oh, we've got to build a majority. We need a majority coalition, and so forth and so on. And to get that majority, she says, we have to stop talking so much about issues like abortion and gay marriage. And when I got a chance to take the floor, I looked around that table, people from all these different supposedly conservative organizations, and I said, well, let's think about one little fact, y'all. And that fact is that every time, in every state that I'm aware of, that the American, and this includes some of these liberal states, every time the folks have been asked the question, do you think that marriage should be between a man and a woman? Do you think that that is the understanding and definition of marriage that should prevail throughout this country? Or do you want to accept things like homosexual marriage? Do you know what the American people have said every single time they've been asked? By majorities that range from 60 to 90%, they've said, we want to preserve the God-ordained family. We want to respect the role of procreation in marriage life. If you're looking around for a majority, wouldn't you want to think about what would happen if it were possible to take the stands that some of these people, they call themselves Democrats, progressives, whatever, the stand they take on marriage, they'd take the stand that the conservatives take, turn every election into a referendum on marriage.
That's right.
Yes.
Okay? Now, why is it that the Republican leadership is unwilling to do that? That's my question. See, I don't think so, you know. I think it's about time you started to recognize the truth. Let me walk you through it in New York's 23rd Congressional District. New York's 23rd Congressional District is a district that was solidly in the camp, not just of the Republicans, but of the conservative camp. It's a solidly, you could rely on that conservative vote. And the folks, when they were deciding what kind of candidate they wanted to run, the state party leaders and national party leaders, they turned to someone in the state legislature who had a reputation as a liberal and was hanging out with Acorn and SEIU and so forth and so on. Called himself a Republican, yes, but seemed to have all these strange associates. And ideas like the support for gay marriage and believing in the so-called pro-choice. Now, ask yourself a question. If you have a state district that's a safe bet to get a conservative into Congress, and you really believe in conservatism, what do? You will make sure a conservative is nominated.
That's right.
But if you've got a safe bet district, and you hand that nomination to a liberal Democrat in Republican clothing, what does it suggest you want to do? I want you to think about this. You've got to open your eyes. See? Because I think that the rank and file grassroots people of this country are the only thing standing between us and utter perdition. And I'll be frank with you, I don't care what label these elite leaders now wear. I don't care whether they call themselves Democrats or Republicans or openly stand in Mao Zedong and the communists and the socialists. They're all walking down the same road, and that road is a road that leads to the loss of liberty and the destruction of our entire way of life. And they're not doing it because they have to. They're doing it because they want to. They do not believe any longer in the things that we believe in.